Today's Toy Spot, we are having a look at the Mattel DC Comics Multiverse Superman 2 General Zod. Yeah, technically, really, they could have also called this Superman 1 General Zod, as him and the other two Kryptonians were imprisoned in the Phantom Zone at the beginning of Superman 1. But being that General Zod really plays more predominant role in Superman 2, I can understand why they would have done that. DC Comics Multiverse is bringing out a whole slew of different movie-related properties. I mean, so far they've really only covered Superman 1, Superman 2, Batman, and Batman Returns, but let's hope that expands even further, and we'll get more characters as well. Featured on the side, the iconic Terrence Stamp there, General Zod. Much more of a impressive General Zod, I would think, than the Man of Steel General Zod. I mean, I didn't mind that General Zod, but you will always compare it back to the original, right? You know, it's always, no matter what happens, even with reboots, you will always go back and look at the original source material. And generally, people always have a softer spot for, you know, the original versions of characters versus what we get later on. I guess the same really for Benedict Cumberbatch's role of Khan. I mean, you know, Khan, yes, good, but is he Ricardo Montalban's Khan? Not really, no. On the back of the package, the other figures that you can get are the Unmasked Batman. There is a regular Batman and Mr. Freeze. Read up on the Multiverse says DC Comics Multiverse figures are inspired by comic-based character-rich entertainment sources such as movies and video games. These figures are meticulously designed to be truly authentic, celebrating the many universes of entertaining DC Comics material. For your individual read-up on General Zod, it says real name General Drew Zod, origination Krypton, occupation General of the Kryptonian Army, special abilities solar enhanced abilities, super speed, and strength. Plus as well, I think with, I don't know if Richard Donner's version of it, but Richard Lester's version of Superman 2, they had like energy that they were shooting out from their fingertips. They could levitate things. I don't know why, but Spot will take a break though. Ranting aside, Spot's going to take a break, get this opened up, and when we come back, we are going to get a better look at General Zod. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Zod's one accessory is I think it's an M16 rifle that has been badly crushed by the sheer strength of this Kryptonian general. It is a pliable rubber. I suppose you could slightly bend it, but I'd be extremely careful bending this any more the opposite way, because you will ultimately leave stress marks and this could break off. So kind of just leave it in a warped state. You know, you can kind of just have him holding it. Not easily. I mean, you could probably put it in his hand as you would a gun, but, you know, if you're going to have General Zod holding and crushing a rifle, you might as well have him, like, even crushing it and holding it like, almost like a mallet or, you know, like a bat. But his hands, if anything, his hands are a little too small. This one hand actually isn't so bad. I can easily fit that in his one hand like so, and you can kind of just hold it as if he's going to be throwing it out like, you know, tomorrow morning's garbage. Just take that. Just go, be gone with you. Pitiful humans. General Zod actually is a pretty good looking piece. It runs the problem though with producing this line towards gearing it as adult collectors. The thing is though, kids will still ultimately be buying figures. Or parents will be buying kids figures for birthdays, Christmases, and stuff like that. Let's bring in, say, for example, his nemesis, Superman. Kids recognize Superman. Adult collectors would recognize it as Christopher Reeve Superman, but kids would recognize it as Superman. Kids may not recognize General Zod. They may just say, Daddy, I don't want the guy who looks like he's wearing black pajamas. I want Superman. I don't want this guy. And Daddy, who is cool and grew up in the 80s, would say, well, that's General Zod. Zod is awesome. Kid don't know that. The kid would only be looking this as, an uninteresting guy in a beard with black, like a black pajama outfit on. I wouldn't dare call him pajamas to General Zod. He would crush my face. But yeah, it runs the risk with any time you do a collector's market, especially really the same thing that was the issue with DC Universe figures. DC Universe, they tried to release figures for every character in the DC Universe. Some characters people didn't really remember. Other characters, possibly yes. And that was one of the reasons why the DC Universe line either sold out or sat on pegs. And that's the same issue with General Zod. Like I see General Zods showing up in local retail, which was ultimately the problem with Superman. I ended up having to get these guys on eBay, but like General Zod, I've seen in stores. He's about like the only figure I'm seeing currently in stores. I think I see an unmasked Batman as well, but General Zod may potentially be a peg warmer just because kids don't really recognize the figure. Does it look like Terrence Stamp? Somewhat, for a smaller figure. Yeah, absolutely, I'd say that. I think the Christopher Reeve looks more like Superman. I feel like the Superman looks more like Christopher Reeve than this looks like Terrence Stamp. But I still think it's a pretty good representation of Terrence Stamp as General Zod, simply in a 3 3/4 inch scale. He doesn't have a lot of paint application, as we've already discussed. He's basically just all black, a little bit of a darker black around the opening of his neck collar here and down the front of his suit. But like the rest of his body is pretty much one color. He's got darker boots, yes, but pretty much all black. At least like the newer Man of Steel General Zod, at least he had the armor and stuff like that. Kind of made things a little more exciting, especially towards the kids. But it's a nice looking piece. Now, I don't know if we will ever get ourselves the other two Kryptonians. Was it Ursa and the mute character? We could potentially only get General Zod, which is kind of a shame. I would have loved to have seen more of these guys. But it potentially may be the issue that if Zod doesn't sell, that runs very close to not releasing any more of these kind of figures, where they might just release countless Supermans, countless Batmans, and that's it. So I kind of hope that we're still going to get lines where we're going to get like not obscure characters, but the lesser characters, like the equivalent of Transformers, where we don't always have to get a Bumblebee. It's nice to get lesser known characters as well. For your articulation, though, General Zod does have a ball joint in the head. Same issue, though, as Superman and Batman. His hair prevents really the head from moving up and down, but you can rotate the head all the way around. Shoulders are on a pin and socket joint, so they rotate out, as well as forward and back. He has a single bend at the elbow, rotation in the hand, rotation in the waist, and then the legs go forward, back, out. And this particular figure doesn't have swivel in the thigh, whereas the Batman and the Superman did. The figures at least are priced accordingly. These figures don't break the bank. I think these figures are, they were about $8 on in stores when I've seen Zod. Of course, Superman I had to get on eBay. I ultimately did get both of them on eBay, but Superman I got on eBay just because he was a harder to find figure. They complement well together. Superman, I think, is the stronger figure, just overall the way he was done. But taking really nothing away from Zod, he's an impressive piece, still to say the least. Whether you feel like Zod could have been a 6-inch figure, possibly. But I like the fact that they're going to a 3 3/4 inch figure scale. It's a good enough size that if you want to collect more of them, providing Mattel does release more of them, they're not taking up a lot of space. Plus, as well, with a 3 3/4 inch figure, sometimes you can also hide imperfections. Like that Batman that we had to look at had that figure been a 6-inch size, that figure probably would look a little rougher to the eye. General Zod, I think, is a good size. Same thing that could be said for the other figures from the Multiverse line. I'm happy the fact that they're 3 3/4. That's me. If you guys are feeling the same way, let me know certainly down below. If you guys would have preferred these in 6-inch, let me know down below as well. At any rate, General Zod, I'm going to give him a 7.5. Today's toy spot, we were having a look at the Mattel DC Comics Multiverse Superman 2 General Zod. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more toy spots heading your way. Thanks for watching, as you always do. See you next time.